We are so lucky to live in such beautiful country. But as we industrialize and grow, we increasingly lose touch with the wonder and beauty of natural habitat. Land is continually being developed and modified to suit our modern lifestyle. Land trusts are more vital today than ever for preserving legacy.
My name is Doug Stewart. I'm a member of the board of directors of the Rideau Waterway Land Trust. I first started working in the Rideau area, though, in a different context. I was a Parks Canada senior manager, in fact held the position of superintendent of the Rideau Canal National Historic Site for about 8 years, from 1997 to 2005. This really opened up my understanding of land trusts, or conservancies as they're sometimes referred to, and helped me understand a little bit better what the true value of the land trust is. And really what it's about is a community-based, citizens-based model for conservation. And why this is important in Canada is that you find that governments, who most Canadians would say probably have a responsibility to look after land and conservation and species, governments tend to have very structured approaches to conservation and protection. And typically what you'll find, for example, in the federal government is that there are only 3 types of protection offered by the federal government for land in Canada. One is a national park, another is a wildlife management area, and a third is a migratory bird sanctuary. And these designations flow in a way that's very structured against set criteria, and often miss very important local and regional natural resources, landscapes, and natural features that are tremendously important to local communities and very much worthy of protection and conservation. And this is where land trusts and conservancies are nationally filling a very important role, filling a lot of gaps that fall between provincial and federal programs. The real power and strength of a land trust is its core of volunteers, the way in which those volunteers can engage corporate Canada, landowners, and governments in partnerships to really take on some significant conservation challenges and get real results. My reflection on my time involved with the Rideau is that people make a decision to live in or own property in the Rideau, whether it's recreational properties like cottages or homes, farms. They choose to build businesses in the Rideau area because it's of great importance to them. It's a tremendous natural resource, a tremendous history. It somehow gets ingrained in the soul. Certainly on the Rideau system, and I'm talking about from Kingston to Ottawa, the broader watersheds that are involved in those areas. If you look at what government does in the Rideau system, and I'll focus on the federal government, Parks Canada performs a very important role. They look after the Rideau Waterway. The locks, the canals, the dams, the actual water courses are under the authority of Parks Canada. But if you think of that broader Rideau landscape, the Government of Canada through Parks Canada can achieve very little in the broader landscape. It really comes down to finding some better conservation methods and more innovative approaches to achieving some conservation results. And the Rideau Waterway Land Trust has pioneered this in the Rideau corridor.
At over 40 hectares, Nicholson's Point Woods is a significant woodland located west of Kingston, Ontario. This property supports a variety of mammals, as well as bird species that require areas of largely undisturbed forest habitat with good canopy cover.
Nicholson's Point's approximately 150 acres. It forms the interior of a peninsula that goes out into Lake Ontario from Bath Road. And we felt it was important to preserve what we had in terms of wildlife, vegetation in the interior. The property itself, we have indications of early settlement in the early 1800s at Nicholson's Point. From there, it was really evolved into farmland in the 1900s. Cottages developed, roadways came in from Bath Road to Nicholson's Point, and they evolved into permanent housing. So it was important to us to preserve the interior, which was a combination early on of cedars, white cedars and white pines, hardwoods to the north, and still grasslands in the middle and also to the north side too.
And lots of wildlife. And
Period.
every season too. I think that's what's so exciting, living so close to an extension of our living area. And it's just wonderful that, the spring, if you've seen any of the flowers, the trilliums are just massive. And it's a sight to be seen. And then it just changes. Now into late spring we have the yellows and the purples and the daisies. And it's just a joy to walk through there. And we wanted to preserve that. The thought of a building developing in the midst of all of that beautiful surrounding area was just heartbreaking.
What precipitated our purchase was certainly we wanted to preserve the land, and the opportunity came up when a developer had passed away who had owned the property for quite an extended period of time. And so we purchased it in, I believe, June of 2007. And in thinking about the long-term preservation of this property, we really thought we wanted to move fairly quickly. And so by, I think it was October of 2008, the land was transferred to the title of Rideau Waterway Land Trust. The whole process was donated under the Eco Gift System, which from start to finish was about 3 months. Rideau Waterway Land Trust was very instrumental, as were people working with the federal government. Couldn't have had better cooperation and help. The broader reason we've talked about too, Janice and I have talked about, is preserving the property for health reasons. One reason we talked to Rideau Waterway Land Trust was because of their policy for human access to the property in a controlled way, in a sensible way that wouldn't destroy the property. And that was important to us too. I mean, the health aspects of exercise and outdoor walking and activity are important. And I think, frankly, the foundation of health is a healthy environment, which we have to deal with.
Well, it's important that we found an organization that coincided with our ideas and that there wouldn't be any intervention, any disturbance of the current state of the property, and they just agreed with sort of the principles that we found were very important in maintaining the beauty and the isolation, the solitude, everything like that. We didn't want signs and none of these things that often will occur with advertising for organizations. And it seemed to be a nice low-key, very, just agreeable organization that suited our purposes in maintaining the land and also just being coinciding with our ideals.
We get concerned about words like planning and management when they're overused.
Yes.
Land tends to manage itself, and the Rideau Waterway Land Trust brought that element too of something that wouldn't interfere with the natural flow of nature. And yet, on the other hand, we consider ourselves and our neighbors stewards of the property, just making sure that it is respected, that it isn't interfered with in any real human way.
You don't see snowmobiles flighting through there and ATVs. It seems to be respected in terms of the solitude and the peacefulness of the land and the wildlife as well. We'll see the occasional deer and they're still, a little skitterish, but it's exciting when you actually see some wildlife, pop into view when you're going for a walk at night. And you see children, you see older adults, and it's just such a welcoming environment. And I think everybody who lives on the point and lives around the woods, they just all have taken the place to heart now, and they realize that it's a place that they want to keep and they respect it. And there seems to be a genuine concern for keeping it in the state it is.
Located on the outskirts of Morton, Ontario, lies Rock Dunder, a dramatic Precambrian shield bedrock outcrop perched 275 feet above the waters of Morton Bay. This parcel of land has been designated an area of natural scientific interest and constitutes one of the longer sections of protected wooded shorelines within the Rideau Canal.
Where the big red star is. That's us.
I think the way the Rideau Waterway Land Trust approaches conservation is very dynamic, and it's not a matter of just locking up land and natural resources for pure protection. There's really a vision related to this conservation thrust, which is to make sure that there are experiential and recreational benefits available. And a great example of this is the Rock Dunder initiative, which the Rideau Waterway Land Trust entered into in the about 2005. Rock Dunder is a truly significant landform on the Rideau system, which still had incredibly strong natural values. And it was really visionary, I think, of the Rideau Waterway Land Trust and its board of directors to take a look at that and say, you know, this is important for all of the Rideau. It's important for the people that value and want to protect the character of the Rideau. And the great thing about Rock Dunder, well, two good things about Rock Dunder. One is the way in which it was done and achieved. The other one is the way in which it's operated and run, because it's not just an area that's set aside for pure conservation where someone has acquired it, puts up a fence and keeps the people out. It's really a sustainable model for use and experience on the Rideau. And the work that's been done by the Trust using largely volunteer efforts to make the land available for recreational enjoyment, for natural history types of experiences has really been a success story. Maintaining trails, providing information to the public about sustainable use of the property, which has a great educational value because it's not just about Rock Dunder, it's about sustainable use of the resources in general. The way in which that was achieved was a real partnership effort. And it was a considerable amount of money that was required to obtain the property. And this was an example where the Land Trust actually took title of the property and now has that ownership and therefore direct stewardship for the years ahead. It was achieved by creating a partnership of private and public organizations, volunteers, and individual donors who all saw the value added in achieving this conservation outcome and making sure that Rock Dunder and its values are going to be available for the community to experience into the future. So the resources to acquire the property, the financial resources, were accumulated and bundled by the Land Trust, who served the role of honest broker in bringing together the resources, the people, and achieving the conservation outcome. And now under the stewardship of the board will, in the years ahead, ensure that Rock Dunder as a natural area is properly sustained for the benefit of the people of the Rideau corridor.
The Brenda Carter Conservation Area and the Carter Phillips Nature Area are situated just outside of Ottawa, Ontario. This large property, which was donated by Canadian wildlife artist Brenda Carter, consists of woodlands, open fields, and wooded ravine habitat, and has a diverse bird population.
Brenda and I were, bird watching and artist buddies and friends, and we went out to the field a lot together, traveling around Ontario and Costa Rica and the United States bird watching. And when I came to this property here, one of the first walks we ever went on was down by the stream, down by the property that was donated next to the house here. And that walk, which we made repeatedly down to the Rideau Creek, it was sort of synonymous, going on these walks, getting to know her better, getting to know each other better, bird watching our way along on that trail. And Brenda being so intimately connected to wildlife as an artist and a spiritual connection, I realized over time, as the years went by, as we walked that trail together, that she was serious. She had that connection. And, who is to know in 20 years' time, 30 years' time, what sort of effects will be going on by human development in this area. We could hope that, this property will remain untouched and let nature do its thing with it, and other people who will be living nearby can come in and enjoy it. Part of that property Brenda had under the MIFTIF, I think, program, which meant the planting of trees so that it would become kind of forested as well as agricultural. Of course, the benefit of that was having grassland species of birds like eastern meadowlark, bobolink, which I gather has recently been put on the threatened list in Ontario. But just basically those open field habitat species are attracted to the field, and that's part and integral that it will be maintained as well for the sort of vanishing landscape of grasslands. The grassland property on the eastern side had an osprey pole put in, I think in 2005, and within a month or so there was a bird shown an interest in it, and we were wondering if it was going to be there the following spring, and right enough, they were there the very next spring. But there are two properties, and the other property is up by Flood Road, and had some more open grassland habitat, sort of more like Alvar, and then all the cedar woods and cedar habitat, and there's also a swamp wetland at the very back of the property, which I haven't explored too much, but I think there's all the flycatcher in there, and probably very likely ducks nesting. Bears are certainly on the property turning. You can see they've turned the stones over. When you're confronted with a donation like that, there's always going to be a technical aspect to kind of get over, and it was great that the Rideau Waterway Land Trust could deal directly with our lawyers and our professional people. It was serious concern. You didn't want to just hand it off to just anyone. Certainly part, if not all, of what the consideration for donating the land was so that others could also go in and have a place that they too could go and connect with nature and the environment. That's the context of how we saw the donation. That is it. That, I know, is the spirit of what Brenda was doing when she donated the land. Suddenly everything is opened up to you. Your eyes are being opened on all kinds of levels. So you have the birds, the plants, the trees, the insects, and all of them working perfectly untouched in that environment. There's, that value too.
The Rideau Waterway Land Trust has now achieved 18 conservation initiatives. All of these have been great successes. They've been done in different ways with different landowners to not just achieve the conservation result in the short term, but to be able to sustain it through time. And this is the legacy part of the Land Trust that's so important, is that what's achieved today and in the coming years is a legacy that will endure and benefit future generations.
those people who are considering donating land and perhaps even getting on in age and just wanting to preserve the land in the long run. There's a lot of help available with the Canadian Land Trust members right across the country, and certainly here locally with Rideau Waterway Land Trust to help the process along.
We're running out of time, you know, and it really is coming down to, you know, just the ordinary folk becoming aware that the environment isn't, you're not a tree hugger. This is actually makes sense. It makes sense to be preserving these environments for our own health, emotional and physical health, you know, air quality, all these water quality. You need these buffers, these untouched land. And it'll only become more apparent as more and more of this type of thing is vanishing around us, that at some point we'll wake up and go, my gosh, thank goodness somebody did do something in a timely fashion to keep this land in perpetuity so that we can go and be one with nature.